2019 fantasy football season. Whether you want to talk deep sleepers, big name sleepers, yes, those do exist as well. Guys can be found in the second round, even guys at the tail end of the first. I mean, it's all on how you want to define a sleeper. Everybody's got their own definition. Personally, anybody being slept on at all in the top 15, deep sleepers into the top 40, all those guys. What's going on, Big Jim? If you have a question, post it, man. We're talking sleepers of all kinds heading into 2019. So, post away, ask away. We will talk all kinds of notification squad. That's right, Big Jim. Glad you hit that bell. Subscribe if you haven't. Hit that thumbs up, Jim. You'll be notified when we release a show, or when I release a show. You can go live with me. I'm going to start going live a lot more. Definitely as we head toward the 2019 fantasy football season, you'll see me go live quite a bit. And then we'll do a ton of these, maybe heading into week one, talking start bench advice, trade advice, all kinds of stuff. So definitely hit that notification, hit that thumbs up. Thank you, Jim. Sleepers, let's talk deep sleepers. What do you guys got for me? I'm going to throw a couple names out, but if you guys have questions, you guys have guys you're debating on taking over other players, players you're concerned about, but you want to talk about their upside. There's a lot of deep sleepers in this 2019 fantasy football draft class, a lot of them coming from the running back position, rookies, rookie guys like Darryl Henderson, depending on what kind of league you're in. Even guys like David Montgomery are getting overlooked to a degree. Yes, he's a bigger name player. People are going to draft him to start, but I have a lot of comments and testing the temperature in a lot of the comments and posts that I have where people are treating David Montgomery like he is not going to be like a potential workhorse running back 2 for fantasy owners in 2019. Then you have some people that are more dynasty geared that think he's going to be a top 10 running back, which is kind of my stance. I think he's an elite talent and could yes, be brought along slowly in the PPR game because Tariq Cohen's not going anywhere for 2019, but he'll come along. He'll start to develop his PPR value as we head into the 2020 and 2021 season, so I like him a lot. Let me drag some of the comments on the screen here, and then I'll address them as I go. This comment is from D Franchise. Christian Kirk, Dexter Williams, Green Bay. Tossing out some good names there. I like Christian Kirk a lot. I think in that Arizona spread out air raid system, they're going to run a lot of 2-slot wide receivers, and that's going to be where I think he takes off and has a big year. I like Kirk a lot. I think Murray's a good passer, makes good decisions, and he'll be set up with a bunch of talent to succeed in Arizona. Obviously, the Patrick Peterson news is not good news. I think anytime you take away a big piece of any part of a team, it's not good news. I mean, just because the defense could be worse and they may be passing more, I don't think that's a benefit overall to the progress that I think Murray can make if that team is firing on all cylinders, defense and offense together. Another question I have here from Big Jim. Would you take A.J. Green with his toe injury over Mike Evans? No, I would not. Not even close, Big Jim, because Mike Evans has, just take a look at it from an ADP perspective. Mike Evans is going in the top 15, top 17. AJ Green's maybe a third rounder, probably a fourth in a lot of people's minds. That right there should tell you that if you were trading, you couldn't make that trade. You couldn't trade your AJ Green away for Mike Evans. So nobody's going to, I think, even consider that. So that tells you that Mike Evans has a lot more value. So definitely don't make that trade if that's a trade. And if you're drafting, make sure you're taking Mike Evans in the top 22, whereas you're not taking AJ Green probably until the 4th round, trying to steal him away. What's going on, Michael? What else you guys got? Throw them at me. Here's one from Big Jim. Big Jim, what do you think of Hunter Henry this year at tight end? I will tell you, Big Jim, I am kind of indifferent at the moment. I'm not calling him a bust by any means. I'm not saying he won't do well, but I think people are jumping the gun on making him like one of this year's top breakout tight ends in terms of where they're drafting him. Now, do I like him as a breakout? Yeah. would I have drafted him or liked him if he had kind of sleeper-like value? Yeah, I would, but he's going really high. I've seen him get drafted in like insane places in a mock draft and a real draft. And I think that the bottom line is we need to see a lot more from him. But I will say, looking at the tight ends right now, I'll even pull up some rankings on sleeperu.com. Make sure you go there for all your fantasy football draft needs, bold predictions, articles. On here, I have drag and drop rankings, some red line rankings where you can check the guys off, read them out, uncheck them, unread them out. It's great for a draft when you follow along. But looking at the sleeperu.com rankings, you got Travis Kelce, George Kittle, Zach Ertz, clearly a tier above the rest. And Craig, I'm about to mention his name. Craig is asking about O.J. Howard. O.J. Howard is kind of that fourth man up in a lot of people's minds. And I'm not saying he is or isn't. I have him number 4. But past O.J. Howard, or really past Ertz, you have just a cluster of tight ends that I think could be ranked 12. They could be ranked 5. You've got Fant, Hawkinson, rookies that could really compete for top 5 to 7 overall value in a very weak tight end pool past the top 3. David Njoku is my favorite cheap tight end down the way. Yeah, I know everyone's going to say a lot of mouths to feed. How can you expect him to get what he needs to be a top 5 tight end? Well, the answer is right in front of you. Kelce, Kittle, Ertz, maybe Howard, and that's it. So past that, any of the tight ends fighting for that 5, 6, 7 spot are going to maybe, if they're lucky, have 800, 900 yards and 7 to 9 scores. Njoku can do that in his offense with a much more potent attack with more passes to go around. Yeah, lots of mouths to feed, but they're going to amp up their production a ton. That means that there's a lot of potential there for touchdowns alone for Njoku. And if he gets 700, 800 yards, 900 yards on top of his big TD total, then you have yourself a top 5 to 7 tight end in 2019. Next question I have. So Craig asks, will O.J. Howard finally break out? He could. I think there's a really good chance that he does. He's got the offense for it. If he can stay healthy and put everything together, he's going to have himself a top 5 tight end season, but you're going to pay that price. So I don't know that he's any kind of sleeper at all, because this topic here, and I don't mind talking about other topics, but the topic we're talking about today is top sleepers for fantasy football in 2019. And I don't know that O.J. Howard could qualify in any way, shape, or form, given his ADP has climbed to such a big degree. I don't mind answering the questions you're talking about him. I'm just mentioning, as he relates to this topic, he is not a breakout tight end. Or not a sleeper tight end. He's a breakout tight end, but you're paying the price for it. Big Jim, I'm still on the fence on Aaron Jones at running back. Thinking of taking Marlon Mack or Fournette over him. You're not high on Fournette. I'm not high on Fournette. I made it clear heading into 2018 he was my number 1 bust candidate, given the fact that he was going in like top 7 to 10 overall value. Crazy that Fournette was being drafted as a first-round talent in 2018. I was like up in arms about it. I think I cranked out not as much Todd as I do with Todd Gurley. The kind of Todd Gurley content I crank out is like beyond anything I've ever created before. And one reason for that, and I apologize for the repeated content on that, but it's because his ADP is not changing. My job is not done until I find his ADP falling, or until kickoff kicks off, and then I don't have to beat a dead horse on it anymore. But with Fournette, I beat a dead horse on it last year. Now, if someone asks me, well, are you high on him this year? I ask them, what on earth could make me change my mind? His offseason's been a disaster so far. They almost wrote him off as a team. Gave him another chance. He goes out and gets arrested. Yeah, it was speeding, traffic related, but I'm just saying the guy doesn't make good decisions. He fights on the field. If anybody has to put together some pieces and get his head straight in order to let that talent finally translate, that talent that is there, it's not going to be Leonard Fournette. That's not the guy I'm putting my money on. And on top of that, he's a very aggressive runner, takes a lot of hits, and isn't a PPR machine by any means. So he really has a lot of red flags to begin with, even if you take out the fact that he makes bad decisions on and off the field. As for Mack, I like Mack a lot. He has running back 1 appeal, make no mistake about it at all. But he also has the injury risk, and the fact that he can vanish from time to time. And will the Colts use him extensively, or will they try to keep him healthy? Those are things that make Mac kind of questionable at his ADP. So Mac is not a sleeper by any means because his ADP is climbing into like the third round. Do I think he can earn that value? Sure. I mean, there's no reason he can't be that good, but I don't call him a sleeper by any means. Not calling him a bust. I'm just not investing in him real heavily in 2019, given the risk, given the fact that, he's got a lot to prove and to stay healthy. As for Aaron Jones, I think Aaron Jones is a big-time sleeper. He wasn't at the beginning of the year. If you guys remember, Aaron Jones was being drafted in like the late second round, early third, and early mock drafts, and I'm talking like January. Then news broke that Aaron Jones would be in a committee of some kind that Green Bay would monitor and lessen his workload. That drove his ADP down to fourth-round value. Now he's a bargain. Everything is about ADP. Everything. It would be the difference between me all of a sudden liking Todd Gurley. But Todd Gurley's ADP won't fall to a range that I like. But my point being that you can like Leonard Fournette at a certain cost. You can like Todd Gurley at a certain cost. Everybody can fall to a certain cost that you will like. Most everybody. Some people refuse to draft Kareem Hunt for personal reasons. I respect that, but I'm just saying for the most part, there's not a situation where you couldn't envision drafting a player you doubt at the right spot. So, Aaron Jones, I love in the fourth round. I don't like him as your second drafted player, something we saw earlier on in the year. Next question. Braid, yeah, Big Jim, I'm not really thinking Cameron Braid's going to do too much there. So looking at the tight end rankings, for example, since we're on tight ends, Trey Burton has, I think, sleeper value at tight end because he's ranked anywhere between 9 and 15. Trey Burton has disappointed, but guess what? You're not buying Trey Burton at value that he has to deliver top 5 tight end numbers for you to earn your value back. You're buying Trey Burton at borderline starting value. He can earn that. Jared Cook, by default, will probably be in that 7 to 11 range. He can easily earn that value. I like Cook. Austin Hooper. Evan Ingram has some potential. Again, Hunter Henry kind of doesn't have sleeper potential. He could definitely break out and be good. But I would say that he's not somebody that I think is going to be a monster given the ADP. That kind of covers the tight ends, man. I mean, honestly, it's like Trey Burton, the Njoku, the 2 rookies, and then maybe Evan Ingram, and then you're looking at a pretty flat tight end pool after those top 3 and O.J. Howard as your 4th. This is Fantasy Football Talker's question. Currently in a dynasty startup, I have Barkley, DJ, and Cooper so far. That's good. I think DJ is going to have a bounce back year. I think they're going to run the ball more efficiently and get him a lot heavily involved in the passing attack. Cooper, I mean, it depends who you had there in that third round, but I think Cooper could easily earn that value. That third round is so shady in 2019. I find that the fourth round players are as good, if not, and sometimes feeling like they're better, safer options in the fourth round than in the third. It's almost like you're rolling the dice and you're forced to roll the dice because the names there are names that typically people would take above the guys in the fourth. But I like Freeman, Travis Henry. You guys remember Travis Henry? He could have been good. Derrick Henry in the fourth round, Devonta Freeman in the fourth round. Those are guys that I think you could take in the third if you wanted, but they're falling to the fourth. So what my plan of attack is, the one that people crap on left and right, is to draft Patrick Mahomes in the third round. Why take a Cooper? And I'm not saying Cooper was a bad move. I'm just giving you an example of my thinking in that third round. Why take a Cooper? Why take a questionable guy when you can take arguably, and you can argue this obviously, the guy that's going to lead all fantasy scorers in 2019 in Patrick Mahomes? Yes, Hill could be gone for half a season. He could be gone the whole season. But in a worst-case scenario, Patrick Mahomes is going to throw for 40 to 42 or 3 or 4 TDs, run for probably way more than he did last year. He ran for 2 scores. surprisingly a lower number than I had imagined when I was looking up the stat. But Pat Mahomes running for 5 or 6 touchdowns, throwing for 40, let's say in a worst case scenario, given that let's say he loses Tyreek Hill for the whole year, that's 45 TDs. He can win you a league at third round value at 45 total TDs. So for me, I'm not taking any questionable player in the third round. I'll take like a Damian Williams if he fell, but he's going really high right now. Damian Williams goes anywhere between 2.08 and like 3.04. But for me, looking at DJ, Barkley, and Pat Mahomes, you're sitting pretty week to week. And yeah, you have some wide receiver, damage to clean up. But man, your core is so strong with that. And yeah, you can draft a Breeze later, a Brady later. I'm not saying that's a bad approach. But for me, I take a different player where you're taking your QB, like a Calvin Ridley, a Tyler Boyd, and then I take Mahomes. And my Mahomes and Ridley, in my opinion, will crush the Cooper and QB that you take. That's my thinking with that third round pick and why I'm so Mahomes went second overall. Superflex. Well, yeah, Superflex is going to do that. But in general, I love when people rip on my QB early approach. I love it. And people talk to me as if like I'm new to the industry. Like, oh my God, what horrible advice. Like, I'm unfollowing you. Like, unfollow me. Like, I don't care. If that's your attitude to one piece of my advice, then what value do you have following me anyways? If you're going to rip on me instead of say, hey, that's his opinion. Like if you come to me and you say, I like Aaron Jones in the top 5 running backs. If that's your stance, I might disagree with you, but I'm not going to call you a moron. That's your opinion. I get heated and worked up when people suggest your opinion's wrong. Then I'll rip on you. Then I'll go after you and go at you saying, you're the only wrong opinions to call someone else's opinion like totally wrong. That pisses me off. Thanks for the thumbs up, guys. Keep giving me punching that thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't. It helps the show grow so that I can bring you like a daily fantasy show is the ultimate goal here. I want to be like the Mike and Mike of fantasy football airways and waves and video. I want to have this type of show where you guys know it's coming on from 10 to 2 on top of all the other videos that I'm probably going to release all the time. But you're helping me grow this channel by subscribing and thumb upping every video that comes through. That's going to be the difference maker for making this show go nuts. So continue to please do that, and let's have this puppy grow into something huge. We're already growing really fast. I mean, I launched in January, and we're talking about 1,000 subscribers since January, which is phenomenal. This I'm not new. I've been doing this 15 years. Most of you know that, but the channel, the video show, is brand new since January, and we're growing huge. Rookie running back Armstead in Jacksonville. A reason? Okay, yeah. Sleepers. Let's see here. Any sleepers that are rookies? Of course, man. Matthew, have you seen my Darryl Henderson stuff? Darryl Henderson's the biggest breakout, I think, player and sleeper in 2019, not just out of rookies. I think he's like the biggest home run. Matthew, you think he's a super sleeper? Yeah, some people would wait on Henderson in a redraft. That's great. If you're drafting right now, which you're probably not in a redraft, Henderson's going to go really late. But if more Todd Gurley news breaks, if he hits one speed bump, one roadblock, whatever, any obstacle that falls on Todd Gurley's situation is going to cause Darrell Henderson's value to go straight up, and to the tune of maybe a flex like value right away and then further up. But if Todd Gurley and the Rams continue to keep everybody in the dark, everybody's going to continue to think that this thing's going to be okay. And then everybody that believes in Darrell Henderson and everybody that doesn't believe that Todd Gurley can stay healthy, which Todd Gurley will not, in my opinion, stay healthy. I think there's a very low chance that if they use him anywhere near the value of a running back one, anywhere near it, he will not stay healthy. If they use him as a running back 2 type value, give him 10 to 12 carries a game, 8 to 12, he could last a while. I don't know. All it takes is one hit on his knee. He has arthritis in the knee that he had ACL surgery in. He's been limping in video clips that have been released since the Super Bowl. He played awful in the Super Bowl, was clearly hurt. The team they kept everybody in the dark about his knee, saying that he wasn't hurt. Okay, he is hurt. Okay, he has arthritis. Okay, he's fine. He's going to be the focal point. Oh, we're drafting Darryl Henderson. Oh, Darryl Henderson had more Darryl Henderson's the most explosive running back in the nation coming out of this 2019 NFL draft class. That is not opinion. That is absolute fact, because Darryl Henderson had more 40 and 20-plus yard runs than any rookie running back coming out of that 2019 NFL draft class, this 2019 group. He had more explosive runs by a lot, and it wasn't even close. He's explosive. And if you watch his film, he's like shot out of a cannon on every carry. 22 rushing touchdowns, 25 total touchdowns, and off the top of my head, I believe it's 1909, 1907 rushing yards in 2018 alone. The guy is a workhorse running back. Yeah, he's a little bit smaller, but like an Alvin Kamara type, which are proven running backs in the NFL now. There's no reason to doubt an Alvin Kamara type size, and he plays a lot like Alvin Kamara, and he's super quick, super shifty, super fast. Darryl Henderson, draft him and redraft. You will not be sorry. I just hope that we all get a chance to scoop him up before he rises and becomes everybody's favorite running back. Not only rookie running back, but everybody's favorite running back to own given the value. Okay, Fantasy Football Talker, I'm excited for your channel. Thank you, I appreciate it, man. I take a lot of heat too, and sometimes I try not to sound arrogant. I hate defending myself, because I'll be honest with you, this is an honest moment, okay? Honest moment with you guys. Let me turn. I oftentimes, when I defend myself, I don't feel good about it after. So if I'm in a topic and someone says, "Oh, who are you talking about Todd Gurley? You don't know your crap," whatever. Instead of just letting it roll off my shoulder, which I should do more, I'm trying to learn that, I'll start spitting out, "Hey, I did this. I did that. I predicted this last year. I predicted his rise, or I predicted his fall in January. Then I did it in February, and I got crapped on all over." And then I find myself cranking out, I predicted this bold prediction in 2018. I did that. And it's by the end of it, I'm like, what am I doing? Arguing with some buffoon that's never going to be in my corner. And all I am is just, spitting out stuff that probably doesn't look all that tasteful. So I apologize in advance if I do that, and I'm working on that. I'm trying not to be arrogant sounding about a past prediction when somebody calls me out and says I don't know what I'm talking about. I guess I have thick skin, but I also get heated very easily. Kind of tough to know how both those exist together, but they do in me somehow. But I think talking about the James Conner bust predictions, talking about Todd Gurley busting, it's not going to make it's going to make some people be like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. When you tell someone Todd Gurley will bust in 2019 and James Conner, not saying he will for sure bust in 2019, but he's a very, very big bust candidate for 2019 given the cost. The most important part about that statement is given the cost. I had one user argue with me till the end of time, until I had to just stop talking to him on Instagram, where he's saying, how can I call James Conner a bust when I said to somebody else, I think it was in a YouTube video too, when I said to somebody else that I would draft him if push came to shove, if he fell to 22, and then handcuff him to Samuels and Snell. And the guy was like, "Oh my God, you're such a hypocrite. You told me that he's the biggest bust. He's going to get hurt, but yet you'll draft him. If you think he's going to get hurt, why would you draft him at all if you thought he was going to get hurt?" I don't know 100% when or if he'll get hurt. He got hurt last year. He broke down. He also broke down during the year. He started to break down and deteriorate. And I know this because I give email advice on sleeperu.com. Subscribe or go purchase if you haven't. On that advice, with my $29 for the whole year package, you get email advice with me throughout the season. And I can't tell you how many times I got an email saying, oh my God, Smitty, do I need to dump Connor? He's hit a wall. He's not playing well anymore. He's not the same back as he was in the beginning of the year. Do I sell him? Should I sell him for this? Should I sell him for that? People were trying to sell him off for like nothing. And I'm like, no, like wait. Either ride it out, let the wheels fall off. And number two, you should have Jalen Samuel, because my bold prediction last year was to handcuff Samuel and Connor together. And this is well before LeVeon Bell was even thinking about holding out. So the prediction says nothing about the holdout, actually. It says, hey, this duo can win you a league. And then they ended up vaulting into the lineup, or Connor did. But you should have owned Samuels anyway, because that was part of the prediction. And Snell is a part of my bold prediction this year, that Jalen Samuels and Snell together will be the biggest home run handcuff in waiting. You don't know when it'll happen, that you can have given the cost. So there's a chance they never get in there. And that's what I had to argue with this user over and over, and he just wasn't getting it. I'm like, look, I don't know if Connor will play 8 games. How could I know that? 10 games, 5 games, 16 games. I don't know that. The point of the prediction is there is a good chance, in my opinion, that Connor does either get hurt or something shifts around and changes directions here with the situation, because there's writing on the wall, so to speak, with this. That writing being that Eddie Faulkner, the running backs coach for NC State, was Jalen Samuels' coach in college. There's a rapport there. Samuels looked fantastic when he did play. Looked fantastic. And he's a better receiver. Argue that if you want. I'm fine with it. I get that there's some debate there. But Samuels is a better receiver. He was a tight end eligible player coming into the NFL. In Yahoo leagues, he was a tight end and running back eligible fantasy football player. He is a pass catching built back. Faulkner made him a very productive receiving running back in college at NC State. Now he comes over, he's the running backs coach. There's rapport there. That rapport alone would not vault Samuels into that lineup. I get that. I am not suggesting that that is the only reason you would go after this duo and expect to get something out of it. But also, Joseph, thank you for subscribing and liking. But also, you have the fact that Connor did get hurt. You have the fact that Samuels looked fantastic when he was in the lineup. You have the fact that LeVeon Bell is not there anymore. You had all year last year the threat of him coming back. So Pittsburgh was like, run Connor out there, because Bell's probably coming back. If not this week, maybe next week. You had that anticipation that Bell was coming back, right? So you're going to use Connor extensively because you're not worried about him holding up all year. Bell's coming back. Now that Bell is gone, and they may not have used Connor to the degree they used him last year, had they known that Bell was really going to not come back, as he dragged that out all year. Samuels, I don't think, would hold up year after year either. Snell might. He's built more like a running back that would fit in this offense. So that's why I love Snell and Samuels together. But the point being, to that user who's like, how could you take Connor at like 22 when you said he's a bust and you wouldn't take him at 7? It's all about ADP. I'm willing to risk it at 22, especially if I cuff him. But I'm not taking a top 7 pick on James Conner. I'm just not. It's even if he works out, if I'm wrong on James Conner, you still get a Mike Thomas, you still get a Odell Beckham Jr., you still get a player that can easily prove to be just as valuable as Conner, and you're going to get Samuels and Snell and steal them away from that Conner owner down late, and you have the best of both worlds. Let's talk about something else, because I have beat a dead horse on that in the past many, many times over, and there's videos all over on that. Let's talk about another guy that I absolutely love for 2019 fantasy football, and that is Matthew's question. Matthew, you're in my lineup, buddy. Matthew's question is Dynasty, Calvin Ridley or Jarvis Landry? In Dynasty, well, in Redraft or Dynasty, Matthew, Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley, to me, is going to be the Juju Smith-Schuster heading into 2020. We're going to be talking about Calvin Ridley to that degree, I think, in 2020. So, will he take over for Julio this year? No. I think Julio's still there, but the torch gets passed, man. It happens all the time. Julio's getting older. He has a concern about his foot every single year. You never know when that could come back. So to call him the number 1 wide receiver in 2020, and I'm talking about Calvin Ridley, I don't think that's as crazy as it sounds to most people right now. It will be one of those things, just like the Todd Gurley will bust in January, became not so bold, or totally bold, kind of bold, kind of bold. You can see it happening now. I think that Calvin Ridley will look like a fantasy football wide receiver one in spots in 2019. And imagine if Julio gets banged up, very possible for Julio. You'll see Calvin Ridley mature really fast into that type of value and role heading into 2020. But I think we'll see that wide receiver one in spots all year long. And then by the end of the year, we'll be talking about how he's the new Juju Smith-Schuster. So Calvin Ridley by a mile. I do like Landry. I'm not saying both can't have good years in 2019. I'm not even saying Landry can't score as much as he can in 1 year. But I'm all about Calvin Ridley in Dynasty, and that's your question. So there you go, my friend. Good job owning him, because I think Calvin Ridley's gonna be awesome. Deebo Samuels put up more points this year than Dante Pettis, or will he is the question. Yes, I think he will. I wouldn't say that you're crazy to like Pettis more. I think Pettis is a good wide receiver. I think that Jimmy Garoppolo is a pretty good quarterback. Kind of excited to see that offense finally mature with Garoppolo. But I think Samuels is the real freaking deal. And he was my number 3 wide receiver going into the draft, which I would venture to say you'll find very few fantasy football writers and sites out there that had Samuels that high. And he left the 2019 NFL draft as my number 3 wide receiver still. So I think he has the potential to be the second best in this group. Really, I do. I think Mecole Hardman has a chance. Hardman has a chance to be spoon-fed a ton of work if Hill gets suspended or released or whatever. I think Hardman and Samuels could be neck and neck for like the best rookie after N'Keal Harry. I think N'Keal Harry will have the best rookie season. I think he will have the best career out of the 3 of those wide receivers. I think N'Keal Harry could be a top 1 to 4 overall wide receiver heading into 2021. 1 to 4, not top 4, a chance to be number 1 in that 1 to 4. He's that good. When I look at, and it's funny because throughout my career, and anybody that's followed me for the 15 years, there's very few probably in here right now that have, but it started with players like Priest Holmes back in the day, going into Michael Turner, Arian Foster. With a lot of those names that I just gave you, Antonio Brown was one of my biggest bold predictions back when he was a rookie. Jimmy Graham as well. When I saw a lot of these players, they were overlooked players. So Antonio Brown was very overlooked. He was not expected to be as good as he became. Priest Holmes, same thing. Michael Turner, same thing. And Arian Foster especially. But sometimes you see just a little sample of that player in their game, in their film, in their demeanor, in their spatial intelligence. And when I see Harry, everything that screamed out to me with those players that I mentioned, that I did call for like breakouts and bold predictions to become elite talents when really a lot of people didn't see it coming. Harry, I get that feeling with Harry as much as any of those guys. I think N'Keal Harry has the physical talent and skill set to be as good as any wide receiver in this league within 2 years. I think he has that potential. I see it in his game, his spatial intelligence, the way he dominates the space around him. He's going to be an absolute beast in fantasy football and in the NFL. There are some questions about his QB situation for the future. Do they have, that plan in place? Are they going to have it in place in time before Brady is gone? Jarrett Stidham is the quarterback that they drafted. If you watch the game film on Stidham, you might be impressed with how much he fits that mold of that New England passer. Now, I know coaching changes could happen by then. They may draft another QB. A lot of stuff can change between now and when Tom Brady retires. So if Tom Brady's there for another 2 years, I think we're safe for Harry to develop into the receiver he needs to be before Tom Brady departs. And he's going to learn a lot from Tom Brady he's going to turn into, I think, a very, very good wide receiver by the end of the year, and show us signs of it all year long. It wouldn't be shocking at all if he had 1,000 yards and 7 to 8 scores as a rookie. Wouldn't shock me at all. I love N'Keal Harry, obviously. Hurting at tight end. Trade Drew Lock for Vance. Yeah, why not? Vance is, like we talked about him earlier, Vance is having, there's a lot of hype going on right now. A lot of people like Vance McDonald. I definitely would trade for him at that value. You have Burton as well. I think between Burton and Vance, you'll be fine. I think having two of them would be good because you don't know what could happen between one or the other. But you definitely would be, I think, safe and okay getting both those guys on your roster and having, letting Lock go. I think Lock's good, but, depending on who's your other QB, I guess that would matter. So let's talk about, hey, Luke, what's going on, man? Glad you're here, buddy. Let's see what your question is. Yo, Smitty. Draft going on. Current picks taken have been Jacobs, Harry, Sanders, Montgomery, A.J. Brown on the clock. Okay, let's see here. Let me do something here. Let me see if I can. I'm going to try and pull up my rankings here. And let's go over rookie rankings. Why not, right? What better time to talk about rookie rankings than during somebody's draft? So let's see here. Let me share my screen here. Bear with me, guys. Sorry. I'm having some technical issues on this for the moment. So I'm going to have to just go off the screen here. I was going to try and share. Let me see if I can do it one more time. Yeah, not working. I have to restart it. But, okay, so you have, let me check them off. You have Jacobs gone. You guys throw out opinions of what Luke needs to do here. Jacobs gone, Harry gone. Well, I can already tell you what to do. And Luke, you've probably seen all my content on this, but I go Daryl Henderson without question here. But you got Jacobs gone, Harry gone, Sanders gone, Montgomery gone, A.J. Brown gone. So you're looking at Samuel, Deebo Samuel, Hardman, A.J. Brown, Marquise Hollywood Brown, Devin Singletary, Kyler Murray. But Darryl Henderson's my number 2 running back and my number 3 overall player for all. Yeah, Campbell's a good one, Matthew. I like Campbell. But Henderson's my number 2 running back, number 3 overall player out of this 2019 rookie running back class. Do I take him that high? No, but here is a good spot to take him. So I definitely recommend waiting on Henderson's ADP, at least close to it. But Henderson to me is like your lock, home run, slam dunk. Get ready to grin ear to ear during the season at some point because I think he's going to be amazing. Michael has a question on that Vance trade. It's a 2 QB league. Does it matter? Well, it depends. Who are your QBs? And let's see. What else you guys? If I missed anything, please repost it. Here's one from Matthew. Darius Geis outlook in a loaded backfield. Depends on his ADP. I like anything. I like Geis at the right value, but is he going as a running back 2? Then I absolutely hate it because he's not even getting all the work. Is he a flex option? That's okay value. I'm not super excited about it, but it's okay. But I think his dynasty outlook, Matthew, is that if I had to draft him, I'd draft him in a flex type role, but I don't think any higher than that just for the moment. But he has value. I think he has more trade value. I like the trade value aspect because I think people are excited about him. But I mean, they've got a crowded backfield, like you said. I'm not thinking that that's the best spot to bank on one of those running backs right now, given the value. Luke is saying that it's between Hendy and Samuel. I like both of them, Luke. I really do. But to me, man, I'm trading up in every league I can to get Hendy. And the problem is No problem, Matthew. The problem is everyone knows that I love Henderson that much. I made I'm not sure if you guys saw the Christmas special. Let me see if I can load that. The Christmas fireplace tribute that I did to Daryl Henderson. But I'm all in on Daryl Henderson, man. I think he's going to be an elite running back. Top 5 running back numbers per start. How many starts will he get? I don't know. Will Todd Gurley crawl along all year? He could. They're going to try and do that. If they start him and he gets running back 1 type production, he's going to get hurt fast. If he crawls along all year, Henderson is still going to eventually get deployed into that lineup. And when a coach has a player that is explosive, they tend to leave that player on the field. Some coaches are dumber than others, but I tend to think that they will, they will leave Henderson in that lineup if he's producing. They already left C.J. Anderson in that lineup over Todd Gurley, knowing that Todd Gurley was banged up and not very productive. So do you think they're not going to... And that's another thing. People think C.J. Anderson is some great running back. He's okay. He's okay. He was in a great offense in that Rams offense. He was going to look really good. He's okay. He's not great. He's okay. Darrell Henderson is great. Darrell Henderson is a fantastic running back coming out of college. He is a fantastic prospect heading into the NFL, and he has that explosive nature and ability that not many running backs in the league currently have right now. More 40 and 20-yard runs than anybody in the nation by a lot. Darrell Henderson is an explosive running back going into an explosive offense that has a running back looking over his shoulder, trying to prove something, probably going to play when he shouldn't. An injury is inevitable, in my opinion. And even that, when I talk about this, it riles people up so much because they love Todd Gurley. Everyone likes to defend Todd Gurley because he was such a good running back. It means nothing. Sentimentally, yeah, I like Todd Gurley. He's a good person, does a lot of charity work. I'm not a bad thing to say about his character or him as a person. Make that clear. But him being the best running back over the last 4 years means nothing. Absolutely. It's a completely irrelevant statement. Oh, but Todd Gurley, that's the biggest comment I get that's a rebuttal to or a negative comment toward my Todd Gurley predictions is, Smitty, how can you say he's going to be a bust? He's been the best running back for the last 4 years. What does that have to do with anything? I mean, honestly, it's the craziest response I get from people. It has nothing to do with it. He's hurt. He has arthritis in his knee. He's limping around town. And his most recent statement was that he doesn't know where he'll be in 6 months, let alone tomorrow. And you're banking on what? Why is it that everybody's playing cautious with calling him a bust versus playing cautious with calling him a bounce back? I don't get that. That's the biggest head-scratching part of this all. Matthew has another question. Let's move on because I do talk about that quite a bit. Don't mean to ramble on that same topic over and over. Watson, Zeke, Fournette, Amari, Juju, Ridley, O.J. Howard, Son of Michelle. Is that your team? Not bad. I would look to sell high on Fournette if possible. A lot of people aren't buying, but I'm just not a big fan. Juju and Amari and Ridley are great receivers. Good job there. I like Watson a lot. I love Zeke. Maybe if I were you, I'd try to maybe trade Fournette and Amari away for... You're going to call me crazy, but if you can trade Amari and Fournette away for like another top 4 running back, which may or may not happen, oftentimes I'll throw in future rookie picks because I believe in my teams every year, so I don't value my first-round rookie pick all that much if you think you'll have I think your team's pretty good here. But imagine getting Kamara in place of Fournette and throw your wide receiver 3 to the whatever. You pick up a waiver guy, work your sleeper angles and get another wide receiver in there. Have Juju and Ridley in there at wide receiver. Have Watson, Zeke, and Kamara. That's what I would do with Fournette. I know Fournette and Amari are good players, if they're playing. Amari is not an injury risk, but I mean, if he's playing at his potential, he's vanished in his career here and there, but should be okay in Dallas, and because of that, he has good value via trade. I would explore trying to get a Kamara. I just think that would be awesome. my favorite approach is having that three-headed monster, really, but the two running backs, a Zeke and a Kamara, especially those two of the top four. They're my favorites. But Kamara and Zeke with Patrick Mahomes is like my favorite draft strategy in 2019. So I would try and go that route with that team, but other than that, you're looking good. Scott, will Devin Singletary break out this year? I hope so. He was my number one ranked rookie running back pretty much all early offseason and heading into the months of January, February, and March. David Montgomery started to climb right up into that 2 spot. I loved Darryl Henderson a lot, but I wasn't sure that other teams were going to draft him to start. So in my write-up, I did say tons of talent. His landing spot will either determine whether he's a rich or a rag. And his landing spot was ideal, the most ideal. A lot of people don't see it that way. They see Todd Gurley there, and they don't look at the big picture, like how long can Todd Gurley, even if Todd Gurley played all year, Darrell Henderson, for as young as he is right now, is in the best spot out of any of these rookies. But Devin Singletary, based on talent and a pretty good situation in Buffalo for the future, a decent situation for 2019, I think by midseason they unleash him. So I would curb your expectation to start the year. Hopefully by midseason he gets on the field enough, maybe even before. Maybe they do something with McCoy, and he ends up walking into camp competing for the job or even having a big part of it. That's possible. But if they unleash him by midseason, I think talent will shine through. This guy breaks as many tackles as anybody. Him and Montgomery are the biggest tackle-breaking running backs from this rookie draft class, and really, for draft classes, back in last 5 years, these guys are like up there with the best tackle-breaking numbers that have come out of college in, like I said, 5 years or so. Singletary has the ability. I think he had 32 TDs the year before last, and I think he had 20-something TDs this year in college. So he's a big TD guy. Didn't get used enough in the receiving game, but I think he definitely has the receiving talent that you need to excel. Kind of like Zeke Elliott. A lot of people were down on Zeke Elliott coming into the league, saying that Zeke couldn't be a receiving back. They didn't use him in college. Well, you could still tell that he was a good receiver. He just wasn't used as a receiver, and even Dallas failed to use him properly heading into his first year. But Zeke has become a PPR machine. I think Singletary has no limitations as far as being a PPR monster. So I love him. I draft him about 4 or 5 overall myself. If I had to, I would try and trade down, and you can find him in like the 10 to like 14 range. He's oftentimes at the top of the second round, which is crazy to me. I love Devin Singletary. Definitely think he's going to be good. Franchise, your thoughts on Corey Davis? I'm indifferent. I'd be lying to you if I gave you my opinion right now. I'm going to try and be honest with you. I don't know that he's going to develop into the player I once thought he could. I don't like his situation. I like AJ Brown a lot. I don't like his situation either. I just hope that things change for them heading into 2020 or so. We'll kind of see what happens. I'm not a big Mariota fan. Dynasty trade offer. Matthew, let's see what you got. I got offered the 1.2 in a rookie draft. Dak Prescott and Will Fuller for future first Cam Newton and Calvin Ridley. So it's 1.2 Dak and Fuller. 1.2 Dak and Fuller for a future first Cam Newton and Calvin Ridley. Wow. I think you have to take the 1.2. I like Ridley a lot. I think you could probably acquire him in another, leave him out somehow. I don't know if maybe he's the guy he's targeting. Maybe he won't. But man, that's tough because I love Ridley. But 1.2, you have a chance of getting Harry or Montgomery at that spot. And if something happens with Gurley between now and your draft, Henderson would be like the 1.02 or 1.01 if Gurley were down. He would be everybody's favorite running back. That 1.2 is valuable. I think I would roll with the best player, which is that pick, because it will turn into the best player. But you wouldn't be crazy It also depends on, is Dak going to be your starter? Not a bad starter, but I mean, what's up, Larry? Larry's in the house. Hard to be a wide receiver on a crappy passing offense. Correct, Larry. Truth, my friend. All right, what else you got? What else do you guys got? Thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't. It helps the show grow. I appreciate it, guys. Please continue to support the show. Tell your friends. Tell your enemies. Tell whoever, because it will only grow our show significantly, which will only give you more fantasy football content. Not on the weekly, on the daily. And I think that's the most important thing here, is to get you guys what you need to dominate your draft and to get you more of it. And I can do that with more subscribers, sponsorships, and getting those YouTube views up and thumbs up really helps. So please continue to smash, as the kids say, that subscribe button. What's up, Daryl? Daryl's in the house. Good question from Corey here. How much is Antonio Brown worth in Dynasty? Not enough, I think, to answer that question the best I can, without knowing the details of your situation. But I think Antonio Brown is a great buy low. So if you have him and you're looking to deal him, I'm usually the guy trying to acquire him. I find that a lot of the leagues I do, people don't trade as much. In the expert leagues I do, because people don't like, I guess, making noise or being wrong, in public or whatever. But every time I go after a player like that, or LeVeon Bell, I find that people are a little scared to trade away a player before their decline like that. They're predicting decline, they're expecting decline, but then they don't pull the trigger. So for me, it's hard to know what is a good going rate for Antonio Brown. I've been trying to acquire him at every turn. I've been trying to offer like a few really late future first. I've been shot down on that. I've tried to offer, trying to think of some other players, like player for player, that I've done. But I think that he is a top. I mean, he's worth at least a top 25 to 30 overall pick easily. But it just depends on your league if people are willing to give him up for that. I would rather own him than like a Fournette. So if you've got Fournette, I try trading him away for an Antonio Brown, even if Antonio Brown has, 2 years left of elite talent. I still feel like that's better than Fournette's, horrible, disappointing season that he could drop on you. If you have Todd Gurley, I would consider Antonio Brown for Todd Gurley. And if you could even get more, that would be better. Because, again, 2 years of Antonio Brown being elite is better than what you're probably going to get with Todd Gurley. But you can probably get more. ADP, even Dynasty ADP, dictates you can get more. So you need to get more. But I love that. Let's talk about Lev Bell in a minute. I'll answer this question first by Scott. Could Dwayne Haskins be a sleeper this year, and what will he need time to develop? Yeah, I give him time, man. I like him, but that offense isn't ready yet. And, it's going to take some time. So, exciting future and prospect, good dynasty guy, but I do not expect, I wouldn't expect numbers yet. Not that it's impossible. He could really surprise. Deshaun Watson surprised a lot of people during his real huge breakout rookie year, and then he got hurt. So Haskins could, but I would definitely curb your expectations a bit. Look at your QBs, Michael, post the question again, the entire question again, just so if I drag it on, everybody will understand, and that way I know what's going on. I can't go back up for some reason. Thoughts on Gase liking Bell, not liking his price tag. Okay, so I'd love to talk about this right now. This is actually what I want to talk about. Every player in fantasy football has that line in the sand value where you're like, this is a bargain, or hey, he's tipping the scale to be more risk than he is reward. Le'Veon Bell was right. He was rightly priced at 8 to 12 overall value. That's where Lev Bell was getting drafted. His ADP is definitely leveled since he landed in New York, which was kind of weird because his ADP was lower before he landed with the Jets. Because people, like if you remember back, Antonio Brown, I had video after video on how Gase does suck, Larry, I agree. I had video after video on how Antonio Brown and Lev Bell were falling into the second round in early, like January and February mock drafts and ADP rankings. And man, that was a bargain. I did video after video on that. And even today when I bring that up, that Bell used to have that value, people are like, what? What are you talking about? It's so funny how memories are so short. But now Bell was at like 18 overall. And then he lands with probably the worst team he could have landed with in the Jets. And it skyrockets up to number 8 to 12. That's about right, though, because he has top 5 running back appeal. He's no lock to be a top 5 running back. Bell has risks. He's moving teams. He hasn't played in a year. I think he's less likely to get hurt than people think because holding out is different than taking a year off because he has all offseason to prepare. He's not like holding out and then entering week 1 or week 2 and getting hurt because he's not prepared. He's getting prepared all offseason. So it could heal his knees up. Who knows? But I think I don't think he's crossed that point where he's declined. And we've never seen him decline. The last time Lev Bell played, he was playing elite football. So I think if you're going to take that approach that a lot of people take with Todd Gurley, where they're like, oh, Todd Gurley, I got to assume he's going to be okay. I think that you shouldn't take that approach with Bell or Gurley because we haven't seen Gurley play well. The last time we saw him play was horrible. But with Lev Bell, the last time we saw him play was amazing. So I think you should switch how a lot of people should switch how they look at these two. For me, Lev Bell is entering soon, I predict, a very good value range that when you hear somebody say, like everywhere across the industry right now, people are putting meme after meme and Instagram post after Instagram post and video after video saying, avoid Le'Veon Bell. Like the news came in that the GM wanted him. They fired the GM. Gase, the coaching staff, doesn't want Bell there. Everybody's flooding news wires and YouTube and Instagram with don't draft Le'Veon Bell. I don't feel that way right now. It doesn't really bother me because a lot of the stuff I think is probably being taken out of context. Now, if more information posts today or tomorrow that further details, which I don't think it will, I don't think we'll find out the details, but further details that they absolutely hated Le'Veon Bell as a person, didn't want him in the locker room, he's a cancer, blah, 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 then it could change a little bit, but not that much because he's still getting paid to play. He still kind of has an attitude and chip on his shoulder anyways. Like, I don't think it messes too much with that. People get over it, move on. It's business. So, to me, Bell was already not really falling to me in my eyes. He's still 8 to 12 overall to me. He's elite talent. I don't care about who likes him. It's not a popularity contest. Yeah, there's continuity and a flow that needs to happen in the locker room and people like, but those players aren't saying that they don't want Bell. This is Adam Gase who stares into the camera like this, that doesn't like him. Well, I don't like him staring at me. I don't like Adam Gase's. I don't like when Adam Gase eyeballs me when I'm watching him on film. I feel like he's looking directly at me. But does that mean that I don't like Le'Veon Bell because I don't like Adam Gase? No. Yeah, so Matthew, to your point, he just didn't want to spend the price, so that's where I'm heading with this. Matthew, stop spoiling it. I'll drag your comment on because it's on the money. The point here is, I think they're taking people, newswires, Instagram influencers, YouTube reporters, whatever, are taking this crap out of context. They didn't want, as Matthew's question post or comment post, they didn't want, Adam Gase staring at me. I can't stand it. They didn't want to spend the money on said Le'Veon Bell. They didn't say, we don't want Le'Veon Bell on the team, to my knowledge. And again, more can post in the details. I don't think we'll see those details. But so why is everybody freaking out? My head, what happens when this stuff comes out, is what I think in my head is I go, oh my God, this is a buying opportunity coming up here. That's all I think about. I don't think anything about what everybody else is. They keep posting these videos. Don't draft Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell is a bust. Like, great. I hope it continues. I hope Le'Veon Bell falls into second round value, which I'm pretty confident is going to now because of all this perpetuated negativity on Lev Bell, given that the GM wanted him and Adam Gase didn't want him. Adam Gase didn't want Lev Bell. Oh my God. He's going to be a bust. I don't get it. All I know is I love it. And I hope Lev Bell falls into sleeper value range, which to me is anywhere in the second round. But if he's at 202, 203, 2.02, 2.03, 2.04, goodness gracious, you could win your league off that. As your second drafted player, I'll take Lev Bell all day long. I'll admit, I wasn't loving him as my first drafted player. I was like, okay, he still has top 5 value. But again, as I said in the beginning of this topic, Lev Bell kind of had the right placing of value, meaning he wasn't a bargain, but he wasn't a big enough risk. 8 to 12, 8 to 11, right in that range was perfectly placed value. Now he's going to be a home run hitting player for your team in the second round. You're going to have him paired with a DeAndre Hopkins or a Mike Thomas or a Melvin Gordon, whoever you get, and now you have Lev Bell. Like, it's amazing. It's back to where it was before, maybe. Well, we'll see where the ADP data shakes out. But before, Antonio Brown and Lev Bell were both outside the top 15, and it was awesome. So, Mark Andrews, franchise wants to know if Mark Andrews is a sleeper. Yeah, I guess. Okay, sorry, Michael. I keep dropping your question. Superflex League, I can start 2 QBs. I've got offered Vance McDonald for my Drew Lock. This is a dynasty league. My current QBs are Winston, Cousins, Josh Allen. Yeah, I'd trade Lock then for Vance if you're hurting that bad at tight end. Who's your other tight end? So it depends on who your tight end is, but I would do that. I mean, I guess it depends on your league, though. If your league, like, will they give you more if you offer a lock up? I mean, offer lock up and see what else you get. If you don't get anything better, then I'd take Vance if you need Vance. But if it's a 2 QB league and people overpay, don't just corner yourself into dealing with this owner. Send out an offer to everybody and see if you can even ramp up his offer to you in fear that you're going to do an offer with someone else. Trade Tactics 101. Create some competition if it's fitting. Sometimes that can backfire if you're getting too much and you pose the question to all and everybody shuts down your offer and they don't want your player. It can make that guy back out. Be careful and know the value. Know what you're doing with that. Don't just blindly assume that trying to create competition will always work. You do need to know your values and what you're dealing with. So Lev Bell, I'm telling you guys, value grab. I think his ADP will be falling into an amazing range. So get some Le'Veon Bell action in 2019. Okay, before I jump, I'm going to go over just a few of the breakouts that I told you guys that I would mention. So at QB, let me pull this over here. At QB, I've made it no secret. I've made it no. I haven't been ambiguous about it at all. That Baker Mayfield is in my top 3 QBs. I think Baker Mayfield is going to have a breakout fantasy football season. Now, his ADP is pretty high in some cases, and in some cases it's not. So you kind of got to depending on where his ADP is, whether you can invest in him at a sleeper type value. So addressing this topic, we kind of got off tangent, but top sleepers for fantasy football 2019. I just want to make sure we cover this topic. We've been talking about it here and there, but Baker Mayfield, I think, could be a sleeper depending on your league. I think QBs are kind of tough. I think Kyler Murray could have some appeal, and people might not be expecting him to have a big rookie year, but I think he does have appeal. Past that, the QBs are very thin in that sleeper area in 2019. I think you got a lot of big guns. You got a lot of guys like Mahomes being doubted to a degree that he becomes a value grab, not necessarily a sleeper. But I think Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers in the 4th are home runs. I think Patrick Mahomes in the late 3rd, very shaky 3rd round, is a great pick. Mayfield in the 5th would be a steal. At running back, Dalvin Cook is the biggest big name sleeper of the group because to me he's a top 5 to 10 running back in 2019. I love Dalvin Cook. I think Dalvin Cook is a home run hitting player from your second drafted player range. So if you can get him there, that's like a breakout right there. I think Nick Chubb goes really high sometimes, and other times he goes in the late second. I think if you can get him in the late second and for sure handcuff him to Hunt, then I love him because I love the situation. If you're just owning Chubb and you don't have a chance to get Hunt, I think you could get burned because that duo is so important. It's the situation I love more than I love actual, Nick Chubb's value. David Montgomery could be a sleeper in redraft. I've seen him go really high, and I've seen people doubt him a lot. Mark Ingram's falling quite a bit in redraft and in Dynasty especially, but I think that people could be overlooking that a little bit. They could be overthinking the fact that Ingram still can ball, and they might run him a ton in 2019, and they have enough carries to go around for him to be a 220, 250 carry back and still give some shares to everybody else. Devonta Freeman can hit a home run from the 4th round. Is he a top 5 to 10 running back a lock? Absolutely not. But does he have top 5 to 10 running back appeal? 100%. And when you have him in the 4th round, you can afford to have him disappoint you a little bit. But if he hits a home run for you, that's a monster advantage that you have over everybody else having a top 5 to 10 running back that you're getting in the 4th round. Derrick Henry, same thing. Damian Williams, same thing. But Damian Williams can go anywhere between 2.08 and 3.04 or wherever. So as a 3rd rounder, I love him. As a 2nd rounder, not as much. Make sure you handcuff Darwin Thompson to him, because I think if you own that KC running back situation locked up, you've got yourself an amazing running back 2 that plays at times like a running back 1, if not all the time like a running back 1. But buy and invest at running back 2 value, and that would be at the top of the 3rd for Damian Williams. But easily capable of running back 1 numbers. I mean, Williams was I think the top 1 or 2 running backs in the final final stretch of the season. I believe, and I'm off the top of my head, so if these numbers are slightly wrong, I apologize. But I believe the last 6 games of Damian Williams' 2019 season, if you include the 2 playoff games, they had a bye in 1 week in the playoffs, but they had 2 playoff games and the 4 final regular season games. In that 6-game span, he had 10 total touchdowns in that time frame. He had 600 yards and so 10 total touchdowns. I believe 6 of them were rushing. So he had a rushing touchdown, 1 rushing touchdown average for those 6 games, 10 total. That is one of the most efficient running backs in the league for that time frame. And they even extended him late in the year, so they clearly have confidence in Damian Williams enough to extend him. And he's the most familiar, face there for a team that might be hurting for some of that familiar presence that Hill's going to be, unfortunately, disrupting. So with Hill gone, Mahomes might really lean on Damian Williams and having that familiar face and getting him really involved in that receiving game even more than people think. So I love Damian Williams as a sleeper potential guy. Aaron Jones, again, we talked about that earlier. He's a 4th round type value breakout, big time sleeper. If he's like a top 25 overall pick, which his value was until the Packers announced they will have a committee approach, then he becomes more of a risk. I think Kerryon Johnson has some breakout potential, and his value is going pretty low. Right, he's getting ranked really low right now. So if you can grab him and stash him, Darryl Henderson's my number 1 sleeper for the entire 2019 fantasy football season, redraft or dynasty. But in redraft, you grab him, stash him. You could hit a home run with that. Kareem Hunt in deeper leagues. You can't own Kareem Hunt in a small roster league where you have 4 or 5 running backs total or something like that. But if you have one of those deep leagues where you have 8 running backs on your bench, Kareem Hunt needs to be one of them. Jalen Samuels and Benny Snell together need to be 2 of those running backs. Again, only advice for people that have really large benches. But those guys, so if you're going 0 running back theory, meaning you're going to go wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver, or you go wide receiver, Pat Mahomes, which I do a lot, and I don't care who makes fun of that approach. I don't care how much that pisses people off, that approach. I don't care that people hate that I'm drafting a QB in the 3rd round, which I think is the most ideal time to grab Pat Mahomes at that tail end of that 3rd round, where it's very sketchy value anyways. When I do that, I load up my team, and I did this last year with James Conner, with guys like Damian Williams. Phillip Lindsay. You load up your roster with those types of running backs, and you clean up because you have wide receivers and a QB you shouldn't have given the running backs that you have. Do you have to land those running backs? Yeah, but that's what Sleeper U, I'm like trying to point there, Sleeper U is all about, getting you those home run hitting sleepers. And Jalen Samuels and Benny Snell together are a monster duo version of the Connor Samuels duo last year. Kareem Hunt, Darryl Henderson. I mean, if you have those guys on your bench alone, and then you somehow, because you went wide receiver, Pat Mahomes, and you still get like a Freeman or a Derrick Henry as your number one running back, and then you have those running backs rotating into your running back 2 spot, you can clean up. It's not a strategy for everybody. If you lose sleep at night because you're like, oh my God, I don't have no depth at all, then it's not the approach for you. Don't try that. You're going to end up trading out of it and screwing the whole thing up because you're going to freak out. I have no running back 2, and everyone's making fun of you because you have such a thin running back crew, which I'm used to all the time walking out of my drafts, and I really don't care. It fuels me. I love it. I love that when I land the James Conner like I did last year. I had James Conner in every single league. You might not believe that by all my James Conner bust talk, but he was my number 2 bold prediction on the year. Same formula this year with Samuels and Snell. But I had Connor like in every league. In a lot of the leagues where I had no running back 2, no real solid running back 2 heading into early August, and we did early drafts, all of a sudden I had a top 5 running back with Connor, and that's how you clean up. So if you can't take that pressure, then definitely draft with a safer approach. But if you love the game, the hustle, the waiver wire, the trading, the stockpiling sleepers, trying to land the Darrell Henderson type players for your running back 2 spot, not your flex spot, you're really chasing a running back 2 with all of your deep sleepers, then that is a strategy you'll love and honestly have a blast doing. If you get stressed out, if you're that guy that emails me constantly all year long in capital letters, Smitty, oh my God, I lost this week. And, you know, I can't tell you how many times I get those all capital letters screaming at me. Those people shouldn't try they're the great people. I love all my users. But they shouldn't try this risky, stressful to some approach of trying to chase a hole in your lineup because you went with the best player available. But I personally draft best player available no matter what. So if that means wide receiver, Pat Mahomes, it means wide receiver, Pat Mahomes, and I'm taking it. I'll deal with the ramifications later. And another thing is bye weeks. People that worry about bye weeks, I don't understand that at all. Like, who cares? I mean, yeah, you need a QB for a bye. That part can kill you. You do have to watch like 1 or 2 things. You do need to field some starters. But for people to pass on a player because of a bye week is freaking ridiculous to me. Like, if you're like, oh, I wanted to take Mike Thomas, but he has the same bye week as DeAndre Hopkins. You know, I'm not saying they do, but I'm just giving you an example. And they literally go draft another wide receiver because of that. That's ridiculous. Like, take your loss in 1 week. It's all the same. You either lose 1 week big, and somehow that's always been a challenge of mine, trying to win that week when you have everybody on a bye, and it ends up being a week that you win. Lose 1 week, or you are hurt for multiple weeks. It's all the same. It's a wash. So to freak out about a bye week is ridiculous. Yes, Larry, I love all my users, even my capital letters yelling emailers. I'm telling you, Larry, I get that email all the time where it's like I have like 5 or 6 people that email me weekly freaking out. And they're like, oh my God, I'm down 5 points and I've got so-and-so, and they're freaking out, not enjoying it at all. They're screaming and yelling and they're so stressed out and they're not enjoying fantasy football at all. And I'm just like, why are you even playing? You know, you can't be excited that you're down 5. Like, we have to get back to that, people. And I've been a victim of it before, so I'm not saying I haven't done it. But we have to get back to where it's fun to be down 5 and have your player going. Or to be down 25 or 30 and have 2 of your biggest players going. Like, enjoy it. That's part of the fun. And so many people get so upset and stressed out about it. Like, have fun. And another thing is you can't control what happens. So to get all upset about it after the fact, like, you've already picked your players, you started the game, you're going into the week, you can't control it. So either enjoy it, you know, don't be the guy that doesn't enjoy it, and then when you win, you're like, okay, do you really deserve to be happy? And are you really deserving of like that pat on the back that you won the week when you're freaking out thinking you're going to lose. Like, have faith in your team, roll out there with them. You made your decisions and live with it and have fun. That's what fantasy football is all about. All right, guys. I think I missed a couple questions here. Larry. Watson is good. All right, guys. Sorry if I missed any of the questions, but so that was I think I've hit the receiver or the running back sleepers pretty well. I think wide receiver. Let me roll through some wide receivers real quick. I think Tyler Boyd is a big time sleeper candidate for 2019. Calvin Ridley is my number one wide receiver breakout for 2019/sleeper. People are, I think, sleeping on him in some leagues, and in others they aren't. They're drafting him high. Kind of depends on where he's falling in your league, but I think Calvin Ridley will be an elite fantasy football wide receiver heading into 2020. He'll be a wide receiver 1 by 2020 and show us flashes of that throughout the year. I think, let me scroll through here. So Calvin Ridley, Robert Woods has some sleeper value. Everybody's on this Cooper Kupp bandwagon, and I don't get it at all. Like, I like Cooper Kupp. Yeah, he was efficient when he was in there. I get it. He was producing wide receiver 1 numbers, but you're talking about, sample size and the fact that Woods has developed an extremely strong rapport with Goff, and Kupp coming back, that rapport between Goff and Kupp may not be as strong because now Woods has been a reliable person for him to gravitate towards. So, and then Cooks, I just don't see the value in Kupp. Kupp's going in like the 4th or 5th round. That's crazy. It's madness. So Woods, I like a lot that Woods' value is dropping into almost a sleeper range because of the hype behind Cooper Kupp. Mike Williams has some sleeper appeal, especially if Keenan Allen, a guy that I think has potential a little more than some receivers to get hurt. Larry, good one to call out. I was just about to mention his name, Robert Foster, big time sleeper candidate. I think that Josh Allen's going to be a lot better than people think. Pettis is another one to kind of consider, but I think that his situation's changed a little bit, so he's less of a sleeper than he was before the draft. Yeah, that's about it. Paris Campbell as a rookie, and then my boy David Njoku. There you have it, guys. I appreciate everybody. Please thumbs up. Please subscribe. If you haven't, hit that notification bell so you know that when I'm going live again. Because if you don't hit the notification bell, you won't know when I'm live. You'll see the replay, but you won't be able to interact and talk and chat. So please hit that notification bell. But please subscribe if you haven't. It helps me grow. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't. That really helps me a lot. If you guys thumb up my videos, YouTube serves them to more people because it's like, hey, this video is popular. It's got 12 thumbs up, 20 thumbs up, 40 thumbs up in the first hour. So timing is important. If you guys can hit that thumbs up right away when those videos come out. Comments are huge. If you guys can comment in my videos, I respond to all my comments. So if you have a dire fantasy football question, ask it in my comments and get a response from me. That helps my videos. The engagement is important. So please comment, like, subscribe. I'll do another live stream soon. Maybe I'll even do one tomorrow. So definitely hit that bell so you know. Does Noah Fant or Hawkinson have the ability to be a top 5 tight end this year, Scott? I think there's a potential because the pool is so small past, Ertz, Kittle, and Kelsey. Then you've got O.J. Howard, Njoku, and then Njoku's not ranked number 5 for everybody else, but I'm saying that's where I kind of have him maybe finishing, and then you got the 2 rookies that could easily finish in that range. And then the last question here, Tyler, well said. I love the moments when I'm down 15 to 30 points and have 1 to 2 players left. Makes that much more interesting to watch. I agree. That's how everybody should take fantasy football. Definitely think about that this year, guys, when you're getting all upset about stuff. Enjoy it. Enjoy that you drafted a team that's so good that somebody else is like sitting on the edge of their seat wondering if your team's going to outscore theirs in that week. It's fun. Got to get back to it. All right, guys. Appreciate you watching. And see you probably tomorrow. I'll try and live stream tomorrow. Thanks, guys.